My name's Joseph Yo Wong. My story is similar to a lot of Canadians. I went to high school, I went to university, got my degree, and I found a desk job after. I love hockey, I love traveling, I love playing games with my friends, and that was my life. But then on March 11th of 2020, everything changed. First of all, my sports were called off, my social life canceled. But thankfully, I had a desk job that allowed me to continue working remotely from home. Around 10 days later, on March 21st of 2020, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau closed the Canadian-US border. At that time, US had about 6,500 COVID cases already, and there were 300,000 cases worldwide. And many of the countries at that point had already lost control of the situation. Canada's response was reactive, and it really meant that the opportunity to control the virus was over. It was too late. The window of opportunity was over. We now move to June 30th of this year, 2020. It was a day before Canada's statutory holiday, Canada Day, which is a paid holiday, and my company's HR representative messaged me on our work instant messaging system, and she asked if I had a moment. I called her, and then she said, "Thank you for your 3.5 years here. Because of COVID-19, we are eliminating your position in the company." And in around 3 minutes, I lost my job. But I wasn't alone. There were 3 million Canadians who've lost their jobs because of COVID-19. So shortly after losing my job, I attended a job fair. It was actually the same job fair that I attended back when I was in university looking for jobs at a school. Back then, around 4 or 5 years ago, there were so many jobs at this job fair that I didn't have enough time to go look at all of them. This time around, there was one job that I was qualified for. Was I surprised? Yeah, to be honest, I was surprised. I didn't think it would have, the economic situation would have been that bad. But maybe I shouldn't have been surprised. Canada's economy shrunk 18.2% in the spring of 2020, and it marked the deepest recession that our country has ever gone through. So my job search then turned to job banks and networking. So I emailed my past employers. I signed up for a whole bunch of different job sites to get subscriptions. I started online conversations with friends, but I found nothing. The endless opportunities that were available to me back at the beginning of the year, at the start of the year, they were all gone. So I at that point, I took a step back, and I thought to myself, what is happening here? Our economy in Canada is being artificially supported by government bailouts to companies and to individuals who've lost their jobs. So the extent of the damage that's been done is likely even worse than what it seems. At that point, back in the summer, the vaccine was months and months away, and I figured the Canada that I knew was not coming back anytime soon. So, if there was an opportunity for me in Canada, then what can I do? I started to look abroad. So I thought to myself, what countries dealt with COVID-19 the right way, had this situation under control? And I stumbled across countries like New Zealand, Vietnam, and Taiwan. As I'm recording this, Taiwan has gone over 200 days without a single locally transmitted infection of COVID-19. And their economy is expected to grow this year by 1.67%. That is a stark contrast to Canada's economy, which is predicted to shrink by 5.5% this year. So I I found that Taiwan was doing well, and at least that's what the news said. So I did my own digging. I went onto my Facebook. I looked at my friends in Taiwan. What were they doing right now as I was like virtually in lockdown? And through looking at their photos and talking with them personally, I saw and heard that everything there was virtually normal. They were traveling, going out and meeting friends at restaurants. Everything was pretty much normal, except for the fact that you had to wear masks more often. So what happened in Taiwan versus what happened in Canada? Why was Taiwan successful in avoiding the massive disaster that has happened here in Canada? Well, first of all, Taiwan is an island. It has a huge geographic advantage, where in Canada, we have truckers and we have lots of people able to come across the border from the US on our huge border that our countries share, and that type of movement allowed COVID-19 to leak into our country from the United States. Whereas if you're an island, it's much easier to control your borders. The second reason is mask use. So in Canada, masks, initially there was a stigma against it. It looks weird, it infringes on your freedom to wear and do as you like. And there wasn't 100% scientific backing of the fact that COVID, or that masks can protect you from COVID. Whereas in Taiwan, there wasn't a stigma. People had been wearing masks before, and there's a cultural difference between the two countries. In Taiwan, you are wearing a mask not necessarily for yourself, but to protect those around you from getting sick. And so it's a community first mentality, whereas here in the Americas, or North America I should say, it is a me, myself, and I mentality. And there's a huge difference to the approach of reducing the spread of an infection because of these differences in culture. The third reason is Taiwan has a central epidemic command center. So what this is, it is a centralized power that allows Taiwan to move resources and personnel quickly as needed in order to deal with health crises. And what it is essentially is it is a centralized unit that has the power to kind of veto any other government departments. It has the power to go over them and to say, okay, this is what we need to do, and we're going to do it now. And then they are able to take the resources that they need in order to get the job done. And the fourth reason is Taiwan has a digital healthcare system. So what that means is Taiwanese doctors and nurses, they're able to see, the medical history of a patient, whether there's notes from their family doctor, or from a different hospital, or potentially even from a pharmacy, as well as their travel history. So the Taiwanese medical professionals, they were able to see, oh, this patient, this person, they were in Wuhan, China, or they were in contact with someone from China on this date, and they live in this neighborhood, and they were able to proactively kind of know where outbreaks may happen. And so they were ahead of the curve and being ready to really control any sort of situation that erupted. And that's a big contrast to here in Canada, where health systems do not talk to each other, generally speaking, and there's actually paper medical records that are still being used. So Canada's health system is very outdated, and it also did not help us in dealing with this pandemic. So Taiwan, it was the place that I had to go. It had offered employment, sports, the ability to travel, safety. It was everything that I wanted. And so I uploaded my resume, I did some networking on Facebook, and within 2 weeks, I was able to receive 3 job offers. When I get to Taiwan, I'm going to be subject to a 15-day mandatory quarantine where it's completely government controlled. I'm not able to leave, to go out to do anything. But it's a small price to pay to keep one of the world's last havens safe and clear of COVID, and also for me to return to some sort of normalcy. So if you want to see what traveling internationally is like during a pandemic, or what an enforced 15-day quarantine is like, or even just what the world is like when you don't have to deal with COVID-19 every day, then stick around. I'm gonna hopefully do some more videos, and we'll see what type of journey I stumble upon, and what the next chapter is for me. So the next stop is Toronto's Pearson International Airport, and I'm ready to say goodbye, Canada.